book of Jesus Christ was Josephus Flavius.
Oh, good God. I know, GE. I fucking hate this motherfucker too. Fucking Josephus.
Now, Flavius was born around 3 to 4 years after Jesus has died. In his book, Antiquities of the Jews, Josephus mentioned Jesus in reference to his brother James. Festus was now dead, and Albinus, was but upon the road, so he assembled the Sanhedrin of judges, and brought before them the brother of Jesus, who was called Christ, whose name was James, and some others, or some of his companions.
This particular reference right here, the who was called Christ, reads syntactically more like a margin note rather than it was actually in there. Yes, Jesus or Yeshua was a common name back then, so was James, but I think that whoever was copying the annals, or however you pronounce it, annals, whoever was copying the annals with their shit pen, what they did was they read this margin note and inserted it into it, thinking that it was part of the original thing, or maybe they felt like it should be a part of the original thing. So this most definitely is an interpolation later by scribes. This is not the who was called Christ is not a genuine portion of this particular line.
Or some of his companions. Traditionally, when a person had a common name, they'd reference them by the name of their father. Now, unfortunately for James, Joseph was also a common name. So the next thing, reference his brother.
So, in order to name anybody, at that time, did they just have to have some kind of unique as fuck name? They couldn't just have, Jim and James out there. They had to be like, James, the son of Joseph, the brother of fuck it all.
Jesus. But wait, Jesus was also a common name. Now, if you go back to what Josephus wrote, you'll see when he referenced Jesus, he said, who was called Christ.
Josephus did not say that.
If Jesus didn't actually exist, why would he reference him in his book? Josephus was a Jew. He didn't care too much for Christians. He wasn't even a Christian himself. So Jesus actually had to exist in order for this Jewish historian to reference him.
Actually, that's not true. Josephus references many, many different failed messiahs at the time. There were failed Jewish messiahs as well. There's this one messiah called the Egyptian. Josephus did reference these other messiahs, or false messiahs, which is what he called them. He called them impersonators or false prophets or whatever. And that's how he referenced them, because he was a lifelong. There's no reason why Josephus would have written who was the Christ in there, because he didn't think that the Christ had come. And so he wouldn't have thought that Jesus was the Christ. So, I mean, that passage, if it was really written by him, would look a whole lot different in that case.
Now, Latasser said, you know what? Jesus wasn't referenced until several years after he died. Now, in an article for The Guardian, British New Testament scholar Simon J. Gathercole says this: strikingly, there was never any debate in the ancient world about whether Jesus of Nazareth was a historical figure. In the earliest literature of the Jewish rabbis, Jesus was denounced as the illegitimate child of Mary and a sorcerer. Among pagans, the satirist Lucian and philosopher Celsus.
Okay, I wanted to stop kind of right in the middle of this, because there was a debate over whether or not Jesus actually existed in the ancient world. I mean, there's an entire book in the Bible that was forged to give a direct account of Jesus existing. And they even said it, in the book, that this was to combat these wild accusations that they just believed in crazy myths. That is legit in the Bible. They made the shit up to combat people questioning whether or not Jesus actually existed. So don't give me this bullshit about how there was never any debate. There was debate. In the first century, the Jewish Christian landscape was so diverse, there were at the very least, 5 different Christian communities working in tandem, not with each other, but separately, because we have the 4 Gospels, which represent, you got the 3 Synoptic Gospels, which actually represents 4 communities, and then you got the Gospel of John, who's in the corner licking the wall. There were people that were doubting it. Also, Lucian's not a very good source either. He wrote in around 170 CE, and he lived between 125 CE and 180 CE. This right here is invalidated by the time component to a good historical source. He's way too removed from the time period to actually have independent sources, but also the way that he talks about it in there is just so indicative of him repeating what has been told to him by Christians. So that's that. I'm gonna have to look it up later as to which one was actually forged. Post-production, insert here explanation as to which book was forged.
Dismissed Jesus as a scoundrel, but we know of no one in the ancient world who questioned whether Jesus lived. It was only when mythicists began denying that Jesus existed that scholars started referencing him. Now, Lataster also mentioned, hey, some of the writings were obviously doctored by Christians. This is true. Oh no, but wait. There's more. Theologian John P. Meyer omitted the phrases that are believed to have been added by Christians. It is only possible to see what could have been the original intent of the passage. Around this time, there lived Jesus, a wise man, for he was one who did surprising deeds and a teacher of such people as accept the truth gladly. He won over many Jews and many of the Greeks. When Pilate, upon hearing him accused by men of the highest standing among us, had condemned him to be crucified, those who in the first place came to love him did not give up their affection for him, and the tribe of Christians, so called after him, has still to this day not died out.
All right. To stop Brittany in the best position possible. Oh my God. Wait till you see it, honey. The pause game's on fleek. To reference what she was saying here, starting from the bottom and going to the top, we have, and the tribe of Christians, so called after him, have still to this day not died out. For that particular portion, Christians were not tribe-sized until well into the 2nd century, so there's no reason why Josephus would have actually written that portion. They are going with the more, I guess, redacted version than what we find in Josephus now. But even then, that breaks up the flow of the surrounding paragraphs around it, because in one paragraph he's talking about some kind of bad thing that happened with, I believe, water or something like that, and then you get this little thing for Jesus, and then after that it says, and another bad calamity or something bad happened, something else bad happened, and it seems to reference the paragraph before this paragraph. So it's pretty obvious there was some surgical shit done on this particular thing. Another piece of damning evidence that proves that this whole thing didn't exist originally was the fact that Eusebias of Caesarea is the first one to use it, even though he got his copy of Josephus from Origen, a church father in the early church who regularly argued for the existence of Jesus, but yet failed to reference this particular passage at all. In fact, him nor his successor used it whatsoever. It wasn't until Eusebius got it, who is kind of a rat bastard. He would regularly forge things, and he actually felt that lying in order to make your point was a good thing. So it's more probable that he added it in there than it would be for Josephus to actually write this the way that they supposedly think he did. So on all accounts, this is so plainly fabricated by Eusebius that it's not even funny. There are people that say that, oh, well, we have these Syriac translations and Arabic translations that reference this and are not touched by Eusebius, but in fact they are referencing a document that uses Eusebius's word. So they're not independent of Eusebius, they actually are corrupted by Eusebius.
After him has still to this day not died out. Now, should this passage with obviously added words worry the believer? No, because when you take out those added words, you're able to see what the truth was.
No, you're not, but also it won't worry believers because we don't give a fuck about any kind of facts or any kind of shit. Fuck facts. I got my own goddamn facts, okay? I got my own goddamn facts.
Mikituik, hard last name, pointed out this. What is said and the expressions in Greek that are used to say it generally fit much better with Josephus' writings than with Christians' writings. One could suggest a forger went and exchanged everything. It is hypothetically possible that a forger could have learned to imitate Josephus' style, or that a reviser adjusted the passage to that style. But such a deep level of attention, based on an extensive, detailed reading of Josephus' works, and such a meticulous adoption of his vocabulary and style, goes far beyond what a forger or a reviser would need to do.
I disagree. I think that it's way more probable that Eusebius inserted it, considering all of the things that I listed before. I feel like she's using the popular ad populum or appeal to authority. While these people are authorities in the field of history, it doesn't mean that they're correct. Like, the way that I generally come to this particular point is to say that before we knew about germ theory, before we really had this idea that there were microscopic organisms that would cause us to get sick, we had various different things that we thought was what was causing us to get sick. And, the popular idea at that time, or the consensus at that time, didn't think that germ theory was a thing, but then they proved it, and now germ theory is the consensus. So now, while I am challenging the consensus on this, I feel that I provide good evidence to suggest a bit of skepticism towards what they're saying, because a lot of this is just chalking it up to, well, no, I think it's more probable that, this happened than this happened. And granted, that's kind of my argument too, but the difference is that my argument has less assumptions on it and has more facts.
If you read the passage, there's actually some words in there that are characteristic of Josephus, that's only seen in his writings.
It's only seen in his writings, guys. You understand me? They're only in Josephus's writings. Only he uses these words ever in history. Nobody can fucking learn this shit at all. That's right, GE. That's fucking right. Only Josephus used those words. I crafted those words specifically for that motherfucker.
Makaituik, again, probably pronounced it wrong, pointed these out. Calling Jesus, quote, a wise man, and calling his miracles surprising deeds.
Because nobody can fucking say a wise man.
Use of one of Josephus' favorite phrases, accept the truth gladly, that in the word gladly part includes the Greek word for pleasure, which for Christian writers of this era, as a rule, had a bad connotation. Number 3, the reference to attracting many of the Greeks, meaning Hellenistic Gentiles, which fits better with Rome in Josephus' time than with the references to Gentiles in the Gospel, which are few. Now, Lataster also said that, some of these guys believed in Hercules. Therefore, if they believed in Hercules and they claimed Jesus existed, clearly he did not, because Hercules did not exist. But when Hercules was referenced in the writings, the writer was actually crediting someone else for the words. Now, let's say I had a friend who said, hey, Brittany, I believe Hercules existed. If I believed Hercules existed, I would tell you guys this. Hi, guys, I believe Hercules existed. But obviously I don't, because he didn't. So I would say this. Hey guys, my friend believes that Hercules existed. Or, hey guys, my friend said that he believes that Hercules existed.
I have no idea why she's bringing up Hercules. I don't understand what Hercules has to do with any of this, but she's wrong.
See the difference? Now, we as believers, we know that Jesus existed. This outside evidence just confirms what we believe even more.
Wait. We know he existed, but yet, you don't have any reason to think that or to know that he existed. You don't have evidence to know he existed. I mean, you could say you believe he existed, that's fine, but you can't know that he existed.
Thank you all for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.
Give it a thumbs up, guys, and subscribe. Do it fucking now, or else I'll condemn all of you to hell. You're going to hell, you're going to hell, you're going to hell. We're all going to hell! Oh man, Jesus is a really good addition to the streams, I think. What do you think, Jesus? Oh yeah, totally a good addition. Start using me more, otherwise I'm gonna keep eating whatever the fuck is in that little drawer. Anyways.
I have you.